Do you typically fly with the same first officer all the time?
No, I mean it's just based on pairings and schedule. So how our scheduling works is we get a minimum of 14 days given to us, and depending on if the flying is heavy that month or slowing down, if we're out of season of traveling or in the heavy travel seasons, we could get more than 14 depending on, how we bid and whatnot. But we call it bidding. So they send us out a schedule, um, picking type system. And so we put how many days we want to work, um, which is always a minimum of 14. So if you want to work more than 14, you can select however many more days, but whether or not they'll give it to you is based on what the airline can, the airline air carrier. Um, Airlines are similar, each system's a little bit different depending on where you're at, so then we tell them which days we went off and which routes we'd like to fly more or less based on, what time of the day we want to fly. And do we want overnights? Do we want to fly out of a different base that month if, it's needed? So it's then compiled in with all that data based on what other people put in. And so, my last month of flying, I flew with the same guy because we essentially asked for the same days off and we asked for the same types of trips. So I actually was flying with him, I think 12 out of the 14 days I was originally scheduled, before picking and trading days and to try and fit the schedule more of what, because, your schedule changes. Oh, hey, now I want to go to this concert. So, oh, I'm flying that day though. All right, let me see if this guy wants to trade with me. So, I mean, things are constantly moving.
Is
But
first officer like a stepping stone, or is that like a lot of people just go with first officer forever?
depends on the airline. There are a lot of guys who get really senior, which seniority is based or senior. Wow, I cannot speak. Seniority is everything at an airline.
Okay.
So the more seniority you hold, the better your schedule is going to be, and the more you get of what you want. So, like if you were a brand new first officer or captain, and you want the exact schedule you're going to get, you're not going to get it because there's so many more people above you who've been there so much longer, so they have more seniority, so they get more of what they want versus you do. So if you're at the bottom of the list, you don't get really what you want a lot of the time. Now you could be
That
lucky and get what you want,
Yeah.
but beyond that, it's not like your normal retail job or whatever where these are the days I'm open and these are the days that I'm not. These are the times I want to work. Okay, yeah, here you go. Definitely not like that until you're really senior, and then it's like there are guys and how they bid and whatnot at the big airlines, and they don't have to work very much throughout the month, and then most of their time spent with their family or playing golf, and they're still making you know $500,000 a year. Like okay,
It does sound like it rewards somebody with seniority, which is great. I mean,
yeah,
we all want to get that. But it definitely sounds like in the beginning, there's probably work life balance because you're not working. I mean, if you're working 14 or 15 days a month, you're getting some balance. But it also sounds like this is like takes precedent over the rest of your life because you kind of have to schedule your life around what they give you as far as your schedule. Is that accurate?
yeah, and we still get PTO and
Okay.
normal types of vacation, that any other job would give you. It's like, oh, here's your 2 weeks, and then as you work more, you obviously get more. So, I mean, there are guys who could probably go a month to 2 months off, depending on how senior they are, and they can bid it off, put vacation time in, and just play around with their schedule, where they can get all this time off in a row, depending on like availability and whatnot. So, it depends on how much you want to go. But when it comes to, I think what you originally asked between first officer and being a stepping stone, there are guys who have all this seniority, and so they get whatever schedule they want. They've been with the airline forever. If they move over to captain, then their seniority drops because now it's different on the captain side. So they may not get the schedule
Oh,
they want. So even though in their overall seniority they're much higher, but based on where base they're at, or if they move over to captain, I mean it changes how
do they
they
get
can
paid
get.
more at captain?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The captain rates are insane. compared
Oh,
to first. I mean, first officers don't make great money. There are senior first officers that I've heard, that make 300 grand,
okay.
and I mean, captains, you can obviously almost double that.
Well, I mean, I
So
have no idea. I don't know what pilots make or anything like that. So
there's
I
a great website called airlinepilotcentral.com, and you can see pay rates in there. I don't know how accurate those usually are, and when new contracts for pay come out, then that can change. And they don't have all of the contract agreements listed, or you don't necessarily see all the ins and outs of how you can earn more money than just your basic rate, but you can see basic rates like that. So it's kind of interesting because I can't tell you numbers, but I know they're where like the Uniteds and the Americans, you can make 400 something dollars an hour as a top senior captain, but you're
wow.
only paid based on your essentially flight hours. So it's not like you're working 40 hours a week, because you're only limited to 1,000 hours a year at the major airlines.
You
So
cannot fly more than that.
no, but that does not mean that you can't play around with your schedule and get premium paid trips that are paid out at 200%, or having trips that are taken away from you because they need training captains to fly with new first officers or captains who are going through retraining or whatever. It doesn't matter. So they can take that away from you, but you're still getting paid what you were scheduled, and then you get another trip on top of that. So then you get pay on top of your first pay.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty interesting how you can play with it. We don't have as many options because we're just not that big, but we still get premium paid trips, and obviously picking up 200% of your normal rate is way better than your standard rate. But those are always nice little treats at the end of the month, to see in your paycheck if you get them.
When you say premium paid trip, is that just referring to you're getting double your hourly rate, or is there like a specific destination that makes it premium paid that's like
No,
different
it's
than
usually
normal?
based on availability of like, we need someone and trip denotes the flights and days you'll be gone. So there can be a 1 day trip, which involves 2, maybe 3 legs. Who knows? It just depends where you go. You go to Vegas and back, and then you're done for the day. That's your trip for the day. But then if you have like a 3 day trip, which I know Southwest has 3 day trips as their most common types of trips, you go from wherever, and then you overnight in a different city the first night. You overnight in another city the next night. Then you're home on the third day. So then they're 3 day trips. And so if they needed someone for that trip and they were going to pay you whatever, 150%, 200%, because there's, I think, depending on the airline and the way they word their contract, 200% premium can be different. Premium can be 150% and then 200% or double pay, So it's all based on what they need. If they need to schedule more people and they can't get anyone just to pick it up at their normal rate, then that's when you kind of see things like that. Or, maybe there's like a red eye flight that pays more because, you're having to fly overnight, things like that.
Right. Okay. If you build up seniority with your company as a pilot, as a captain, but then you switch to Southwest, you're kind of starting over again.
Yeah, you start from the bottom.
So eventually you kind of want to get somewhere and be like, this is my home forever.
Pretty much, yeah. The faster you get to, where you want to be. And, each airline's different. And each one has different things that should factor into where you choose to go. And, we don't pay as much as the big airlines. I mean, we still make great money. It's not anything against that. But where we differ than most of the big airlines is I'm home every night.
Yeah, which is huge.
Yeah. So it makes it a lot nicer when, you have a birthday dinner or someone's wedding coming up, and it's easy to trade because most of our days are just their own days. So even if you have a block of 7 days in a row you're working, if there's something that happens within those 7 days and you need to trade off a day, there's a good chance you can trade it off. And you don't have to get rid of more than just 1 day per se.